Hello, everyone. Welcome back from the weekend and welcome to your Daily Detroit, sharing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. We do this every day of the week, and the day today is Monday, September 25th, 2023. I'm Jairus Days, and joining me are two astute panelists from our fabulous group of contributors. First off, every Monday, Fletcher Sharp, how are you?
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we found a guy who sometimes doesn't love Monday to do Mondays, but I appreciate you. And Randy Walker, our engineer and knob twiddler. Randy, how do you feel about Monday?
It's Monday. Sad the weekend is over.
Right. Let's get into some stories as opposed to mourning the loss of our weekend. First off, let's play a little game of where we've been. And one of the reasons why, Randy, you're joining us here on this Monday is we've all been to the Firebird Tavern's new location in Troy. Now, people should know that Firebird Tavern's been around for a bazillion years in Greektown. It's a mainstay right there on Monroe. And to see them open up the second location, I think they had plans for this in the works for a while, but now that we're kind of more post-pandemic with things, they pulled the trigger. All right, let's talk about some first thoughts. We made it out to the suburbs, which is kind of rare for us. I do think that it adapted to its suburban home, Randy.
Exactly. I was in this building before, actually. It used to be a barbecue place. So to see all the changes that they made to it, they did a good job renovating it.
For sure. I mean, Firebird Tavern, to me, is one of those places of like consistent food, but it's like bar food, you know? And I think they did a decent job with that. Fletcher, what were your thoughts?
They had margarita pizza, which the one in Detroit does not have. It was good. I wouldn't say it was the best pizza I've ever had, but it was good. I would definitely eat it again if it was offered to me. I like the space. It's just, it reminds me of when I used to live out in Novi, and just stuff was like, it's very, you hear cars, you hear people talking, and then at some point the cars stop and it's just very quiet. So if you like atmospheres at a certain point, it'll just be very tranquil and calm. It's probably great for you there. I kept having my anxiety look over my shoulder a little bit a few times because, again, the quiet and calm is not what I'm used to. One other thing that kind of made me frown a little bit, parking lot was very small. When I got there, I had to fight like 3 people for a spot, and one guy was very not thrilled to lose out. But, I mean, when you have a business like this that, you know, it's been around for a while, it's making a new location, people want to get out there and see it. So I'm sure the other people have this issue as well.
Yeah, what was it before, Randy? Wasn't it like a barbecue place?
It was Shark Barbecue.
Okay.
Shark or Shark's Barbecue. And then I think before that it was a Pizza Hut.
How well do you think they did of hiding the Pizza Hut? I think they did a pretty good job. You can tell with the opening windows that go to the patio, because there's a front patio right next to, I believe it's Rochester Road, and then the interior space. I think they did a decent job of kind of hiding that it was a Pizza Hut.
I didn't even know it was a Pizza Hut beforehand, so yeah, good job disguising that.
Did until I was told, and once I turned, I immediately saw where the salad bar was. I saw where the back where they would be making those little personal pizzas, and I was like, yeah, this definitely used to be a Pizza Hut. But like, if you did not know that, you'd be like, oh, this is a suburban restaurant. I get it, but knowing what is there now, it's like, oh, I can see where all this other stuff would be for a Pizza Hut.
Yeah, they did a lot of work with that patio area. It's pretty extensive. It's covered. There were 2 or 3 fire pits off to the side with like lounge chairs. So it's definitely more of that kind of chill back vibe. And it definitely felt different than the downtown one, because the downtown one's a lot more cramped. This one seems to have a lot more space.
Yeah, when you sat outside, like there was room to maneuver. If you wanted to walk between everyone's table and not that, I mean, you should do that at restaurants to let people, you know, don't be looking over their shoulder while they're eating. It's kind of rude. But like outside, like there was space to just maneuver and just not touch other people as you move by. Inside was a little bit smaller, but also I'm pretty sure that they were expecting people to show up, but like maybe not in the burst of people that showed. But yeah, if you have a seat outside, especially, you know, in this nice fall weather that's about to appear, you could have somewhere where you can sit at a table. If you want to, you know, get a little chilly with a little glass of wine by a fire pit, you can do that as well. Very good Instagram vibes outside.
That's a good way to put it. Let's talk about the food and beverage program. I actually kind of like the drinks. In fact, more than kind of. I did enjoy. I was like, maybe I can get another one of those old fashions.
Yeah, I had the bourbon amaretto sour, and it was a solid sour. Good bourbon flavor with a nice smooth amaretto finish to it.
Nice. Fletcher, I know you liked your drink.
Yeah, I had the Northside Collins, which was gin lime, simple syrup, and sparkling wine, which I remade at my house like 2 days later. Very good, very light. Not one of those drinks where you're like, is there alcohol? Like, you can tell very much so there's alcohol in there. But it was very light and didn't make you, to complement most meals, like I feel like it would do a pretty good job.
And this is a first look, and it was a media preview, so this isn't a full review. But let's talk about the food bites. I mean, it's bar food. That's what it is. And I think it nails what it is. I think there's some notes on either way. Like, I tended to like the burger. I thought the margarita pizza was solid. That's what we had, right? It was a margarita pizza, guys?
It was.
Okay. And then what do we think about the pretzel?
I mean, it was a basic Firebird pretzel. Like, it's good. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love Firebird pretzels, but I've had it before.
Yeah, hard to go wrong with a soft pretzel with cheese sauce.
That's true. Any other standouts for you guys?
I liked the steak.
Oh, yeah.
It had a Moroccan spice rub, and it was marinated in rye IPA. And then it came with a side of zip sauce. And the zip sauce was fine, too. And the steak was great, but I kind of like the steak better without the zip sauce, to be honest.
Unpopular opinion, I'm generally not a zip sauce guy.
It's popular around here because it's from around here, but yeah, I'm not really a zip sauce fan either.
Yeah, it's 3 for 3. I'm not really a guy who likes horseradish, so anytime I can not put that in my mouth, I think I'm going to take that option.
Yeah, it is a real thing around here. I feel like it's zip sauce and ranch.
Oh, I wish you hadn't
Condiments
told
of
me that.
Detroit.
The condiments of Detroit, yes.
I definitely don't want that anywhere around me.
Is Fletcher Sharp a ranch-free zone?
I tried to put one of those signs on my house, and my partner promptly took it down.
Well, this place is now open for people to check out. I think it's a good place to stop by if you're, looking for bar bites, you're looking for a patio. It seemed like everybody had a good time. Again, this is just a first look, and I'm just interested to see more and more of these places kind of branch out into the suburbs,
Yeah, it's like, hey, our downtown location is famous. Now visit us out in the suburbs where you don't have to deal with downtown.
Basically. I mean, it's also kind of knowing what your customer base is,
Yeah, if you can go to where the customers are instead of expecting them to come to you all the time, you're likely to expand business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be hard for me to not see that place be full, like, say, during Lions games or Tigers games, or people who don't necessarily aren't not able to get down to the city, or people who just don't want to go to the city. It kind of offers a little bit of a city-ish vibe with carrying over some things from the downtown Firebird at a place that some people might prefer a bit more.
And especially depending on where you live, right? Because and that was one thing right off the bat that I think we noticed when we pulled off the freeway, Randy, was that this was a good distance. This isn't like opening up something in downtown Detroit, then opening it up in Ferndale. There's definitely a gap there. I mean, it was like, what, a 40-minute drive?
Felt close to that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it has a good chance of doing well, but not cannibalizing downtown. You know what I mean? So news officially came that there is a new tenant for the Founders space that abruptly closed under a lot of, frankly, controversy. Founders Brewing had a Midtown tap room for a while, and now it looks like Eastern Market Brewing Company is going to take it over with a concept called Elephant and Company. This is going to be on 456 Charlotte Street in Detroit, so kind of near over the Detroit Shipping Company and some of the stuff over on Cass. I know that Devin was a big fan of the Founders layout and everything in there, but Eastern Market Brewing seems to be lighting the beer world on fire, whether it's their stuff in Royal Oak with Lincoln Tap or Ferndale Project or their Eastern Market. It just seems they're on a roll, and this is yet another thing, and I feel like they may be good tenants for this. There's going to be coffee and donuts in there as well. That seems to be a winning concept where you have a place that throughout the day offers different things. It seems to bring more folks in.
I like the space when it was Founders, so knowing Eastern Market Brewing Company's track record, I'm excited to see what they're going to do with it.
I think this also is going to have some of the self-service taps as well.
Okay, cool. I haven't had a chance to try those out yet, so that'll be fun.
I did. I got a chance to actually try them out with Dane a little while ago, the owner, and you get a little wristband. You go up and you scan, and it's kind of a crazy thing, but also you get your beer faster.
Faster beer is always a good thing.
Fletcher, did you go to Founders at all or anything like that?
I did not. I had planned to once or twice. I'd seen the space before, but honestly, not to take a sad turn. The only time I've really seen Founders space has been whenever they've been in the news, and it really hasn't been great the last few times. So hopefully this is a new chapter for this facility that can do great things and bring thumbs up and smiles.
All right, this next one, I've had some listeners ask questions about what's happening over at Barkside. Now, this is going to be a combination food venue, bar thing that's going to be in your neck of the woods, Randy, in West Village. And you're kind of wondering about its progress, too.
Yeah, I live right near it, so I haven't really seen anything going on the outside, and all the windows have paper over them. So they finally posted an update yesterday on their Instagram showing some progress inside, but it feels like they might not meet their fall 2023 opening date based on these progress pictures.
They were not explicit about it, but it's good to see progress happening. You get a little worried when there isn't a lot happening. One of our contributors was over by the supposed new Rihanna store, and it kind of looks like Savage Empty and not Savage Fenty, which isn't necessarily a good sign. I know that a lot of people are interested in more things to do with their dogs in Metro Detroit, and it's part of why people are excited about this, especially people new to the city who feel like there could be more dog amenities here. And I know, Fletcher, for you, in your other work, you're definitely a big fan of dogs. So your thoughts?
Somewhere that, you could take your dog and get a little sip on, get a little something to eat, maybe get a little whatever. Like, it's great. So to see something like this pop up, I'm sure, especially in West Village, where I know there are definitely a lot of people with dogs who would love to socialize with other people with dogs, it seems like a really good facility to be built.
Yeah, I mean, even if it does take till the spring, I feel like that would give them, and again, they haven't adjusted their timeline publicly, but even if it took to the spring, it's something where I feel like that could even be a great way to kind of kick off 2024.
Oh, definitely. It would be a good way to say, hey, snow's melting, we're opening up. Why don't you have a nice little spritzer and bring your little pup around, and they can all socialize. You can meet other people in the neighborhood who have dogs you haven't met before, or your dog can meet their dog, or just, you can meet people, see people and their dogs and just come bring your dog. And honestly, if you're looking to get people to come to your facility, dogs is a pretty safe one.
Now, Randy, where exactly is this one?
This is on the corner of Kercheval and Van Dyke. It is the southwest corner.
Now, before we get to a little bit of sports, a little bit of sad news, all but 3 Moosejaw stores in the country are to close. Now, people didn't know, Moosejaw actually got its start here in Metro Detroit. Its headquarters was in Madison Heights for a long time before it got bought by Walmart, and then it got bought by Dick's Sporting Goods, and now all but 3 are closing. It comes kind of suddenly. And I know that there are real fans of this brand, but it seems to be a victim of the switch to online. And a brand like Dick's, they're going to kind of consolidate things. It feels like they bought it to kill it, which I don't know if that's the actual case, but it feels that way with how recently they purchased it. It seems kind of haphazard, but it's I think it's a sad day for a brand that's got its start here in Metro Detroit, even though its ownership had switched around. I know that both of you have been involved in Moosejaw in one way or another, whether buying or knowing stuff going on or whatever.
Yeah, I've shopped at Moosejaw before, and yes, this does very much feel like a buy to kill. Dick's only acquired it, 6 months ago? And I remember at the time, people were excited that, yay, it's no longer a Walmart company, but it seems like that joy was short-lived.
Yeah, and my partner works at Moosejaw, and kind of to Jared's point about it feeling a bit haphazard, they were prepping for like an interior revamp like just last week, and then she went camping this weekend, and she came back to of course they had a town hall meeting, and she was like, hey, this thing might happen, but let's not talk about it. And then as she went up north camping, within the 35-40 minutes, the story broke that this was definitely happening. So I took her to work today, all the stuff for the interior revamp is outside the store, and it's cool, well, let's go revamp the store for 5.5 months. I get I think the decision was probably in the back of the heads of some people in the higher ups, but I don't think that they actually were intending to let people know until it was kind of too late. And I mean, giving them this much time is fine. The fact that they're keeping a store open in Michigan, I guess in a way is good, albeit it is in Birmingham. So that's not really close to many people I know over here. But I guess if you really want Moosejaw apparel, you can either come to one of the Moosejaw stores by you or wait until February and then go to the one in Birmingham.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a blow to some retail spots. You got one in Ann Arbor. You got one in Canonsburg, in Belmont. Randy, you're the master of all things not Metro Detroit, Michigan. Where is Belmont?
That's a great question. I've Don't think I've heard of Belmont.
East Lansing, Grand Rapids, Grosse Pointe, and downtown Detroit, which downtown Detroit's kind of gotten it on the chin with some of the retail stuff lately. We're losing more and more retail spots, and I feel like this is, again, a situation where they kind of bought it to kill it, and then also moving so much stuff online and kind of shifting what retail is in person. And I think we're going to see more of these shifts.
I understand, because if you can get the same numbers without having to pay for the overhead of a bunch of brick and mortar companies, why would you keep them open? But in the same way, like, there are some people who would rather deal with actual people than, computers. And I know that they're not as much as people who are okay with dealing with screens, but nothing really beats going into a local store, even if it is a chain store, and like people, knowing people and being able to understand and talk to someone, as opposed to having to just handle giving your credit card number to your screen and hoping that your screen doesn't freeze or something.
And for clothing specifically, I like to go into the store and actually try it on. Like, I know my general sizes, but there's always the issue with online purchases and sizing that you don't necessarily know if it's going to fit, and then you have to deal with the returns and try a new size. And when you can try things on in store, it's just way easier to get the size you need the first time.
And when you're dealing with all those returns, meanwhile, you don't have the thing you need. Like, I can't speak to say with Moosejaw, but I've known that I've bought cleats from Nike a few times, and I've had a game in a month and a half, and I've got a pair of cleats. They were a size too small, had to do the return. Meanwhile, the date's coming up to when I need to have these cleats by, and I still don't have the right pair. And like, it's not helping me to do that. And so, like, yeah, like Randy said, being able to go inside of a store and try something on and know that you have the thing that fits you is like a big, big incentive to keep some brick and mortar stores open.
Well, I think I'm going to put a poll out on Instagram and our newsletter. I want to ask people, I'd love to get you all's feedback, 313-789-3211 or dailydetroit@gmail.com. How do you feel about this shift? Is this something that overall, like, are you buying more stuff online? Like, how do you feel about these things? So leave us a voicemail or an email. Randy Walker, I know you need to get going, and we're about to talk about sports ball, which you care about zero about. So
Exactly.
I appreciate you stopping by for a little while on Daily Detroit.
Always happy to be here.
Well, now that we've said goodbye to Randy, let's talk some sports ball, specifically the Detroit Lions. Let's start, then we'll go into some Detroit City FC. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Wow. Like, great job. I really liked how he connected with Goff. I really loved the Lions defense in this win over the Atlanta Falcons. And I am generally positive. I loved watching this win, and that defense, I felt like, really stepped up for the Detroit Lions. And I know we have different views on this, but this is the kind of Lions team I was looking to see at the beginning of the season.
I mean, not necessarily we have different views. Like, this is more of the team that Dan Campbell said he was promising to bring, a team that is going to get after it defensively. It's going to force some pressure. They sacked Desmond Ridder 7 times. No interceptions, 1 fumble caused by Ridder, strip sacked by Aiden Hutchinson. But he said the team's going to get after it defensively, and by offensively, they're going to figure it out piece by piece, whether it's through Goff or whether it's through the running game. Now, David Montgomery was out with a thigh bruise, so Jahmyr Gibbs was able to step up and be the first string running back. He got 80 yards, which is good. I mean, people were expecting a lot more. Atlanta Falcons have a pretty decent run defense. It's not the best, but it's one of the better ones. But through the air, they had Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god, 102 yards. Sam Laporta is currently tied for most catches for an NFL tight end his first 3 games with 15. He had 84 yards and a touchdown, his first career touchdown. And they seem to just be humming offensively. Defensively, again, I mentioned that the Falcons were like a decent team. Haven't really been tested, but they still had Bijan Robinson, who's really, really good. Held him to 33 yards, which in part is because they got a lead. And when you're ahead, you really can't have the luxury of trying to run the ball anymore. You have to throw the ball more, which is why in those other earlier years when Matt Stafford was putting up all those amazing numbers, it was great, but it's because they were losing. So he had to throw the ball. Brian Branch really came out to play. 11 solo tackles, 3 for a loss, 2 pass breakups as a safety. As a rookie safety, I'm not to say he can do that every single week, but if he could do that every single week, those are Hall of Fame numbers. Like, I'm not trying to put any pressure on anyone's shoulders. He came out to play, though, and that's what you want to see. Aiden Hutchinson had a great game. Again, I mentioned the team had 7 sacks as a whole. He had 2 of them. and he's being a disruptor on the side. You figure with them losing a starter on the other side to injury, that might be a bit of an issue. Maybe losing CJ Gardner-Johnson as well to potentially a big pec injury would be an issue. And no, two rookies in these same positions stepped up and played well, putting him in a good spot in the division, just underneath the Packers at 2-1, who they play next week in Green Bay. But that'll be a big test of whether they really are about it this season or not.
Yeah, that Green Bay game is going to be important. I think it's going to be another early sign. And the odd thing is we're coming in as the favorites. The Packers are the underdog at Lambeau, which is a different feeling.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when, your quarterback who's been there for so long and Aaron Rodgers goes somewhere else and you put his understudy behind him and he's kind of been tested, not really that tested. Green Bay is kind of getting along in the tooth some other positions. And Detroit's coming off of, beating the Super Bowl champions, having not a not so great loss, but then picking up another win. Yeah, they're kind of the hot team right now. They're the team people expect to win the North. If you're a Lions fan, it feels kind of different to be the prey instead of the hunter. Like, you are the ones at the top that people are aiming for now. You need to show why all of the preseason hubbub about you guys is for real. And so far they have. They've come out and played exactly the same way that they said they would do. And that's really all you can hope for in a young team.
Do you think they pull off the win?
Against these Packers? Yeah, I think they can. I think they've shown that as long as they, protect the ball. I mean, Goff had an interception that's not great. But, as long as they protect the ball, play solid defense, and let their offense do the rest of the work, like running the ball and chewing up time, they have a really solid chance, and they actually have a team right now that's shown that they can do that. That's the thing that always has been a problem with me as a Lions fan or Lions person, is the offensive line. They typically lose that battle. They might have a better defensive line, but they always lose the offensive battle. Quarterbacks get hit, running backs get hit, ball doesn't move forward. If you can show that you can create a pocket for Goff to create, or create a pocket for Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs to get out there and get some yards on the ground, you always have a chance. And so far, they're showing they can do that. So until they show me that they cannot do that going forward, people saying the Lions might win, I'm more inclined to believe it.
Now, Detroit City FC, I think expectedly pulled off the win 3-0 against Hartford, because Hartford is the USL Championship East's punching bag. I'm glad to see the win. We needed the win. I'm still not 100% confident we're going to get into those playoffs. I think that there's a real chance. I feel like we need to basically win out or do 3 of 4. This game up against the Colorado Switchbacks coming up this Wednesday is a big deal because we just need the points, not the head-to-head part. Thoughts? I mean, I'm glad to see the win. I'm glad to see some great goals, but I'm still a little nervous.
Yeah, Detroit won, Tulsa lost, so Detroit flip-flops and goes back into 8th. And I'll just be really brief about this. Again, they got the win that they need to get the win. It's fanfare for a win, but it's not really that much of a fanfare. You expect to beat the worst team in the division, if not the entire league. I'm not good with numbers, but I know this. Detroit needs to go into the final game of the season with a 4-point lead over Tulsa. Right now, it's 1 point, which means they need to win a game when Tulsa loses. And the reason why I say that is Detroit's final game of the season is at home against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, #1 seed, led by Bob Lilly, who is one of the most thorough people I've ever met in my entire journalism career. If there was a zombie apocalypse, they say go for the brain, he would just stomp on it for like an hour just to make sure. He's very thorough. I know a lot of people are like, well, if we get there, Pittsburgh will have it all sewn up. Bob Lilly's, if there's like a Disney movie, he's a villain who's like, you're not going to win this. There's no David and Goliath. He's not for storylines. He wants to make sure his team plays well. So you're probably not winning that game. And Tulsa's last game of the season is against the very same Hartford that you just trounced. So they're probably going to win that game. So if it's a 3-point lead, 2-point lead, you're not making the playoffs. If it's 3-point, it's going to be a head-to-head, and Tulsa's beat you twice. If it's 4 points, you have a chance at least with 1 point. If it's 2 points, they're going to leapfrog you. So this game against Colorado Springs is very important, because they are flying cross country on a short week to play against you guys. Now, they did beat Sacramento Republic, the #1 seed in the West. So, that's not great. But again, they are flying cross country, short notice. But their team is a team full of people who go directly at you. They have 3 players in the top 20 for dribbles per 90 minutes, which means when they get the ball, they're going directly at your defense. There's no passing it back and forth. There's no whatever. We're going to run full speed directly at you and make you defend us. And Detroit tends to struggle with teams like that because those teams typically are faster than Detroit's defense, which has been great, but it's not very fast, save for one player. Outside of him, their defense is kind of stone foot. So It gives me a little bit of worry that they might get run around. They'll have to definitely score some goals when it matters. They did a good job of that against Hartford, but they have to tighten up and do it again this Wednesday. If not, there's a pretty solid chance they're probably going to be in the outside looking in come playoff time.
And for those playoffs, our most likely opponent is probably Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah. So if you happen to squeak by and beat Bob Lilly in the final game of the season, he's going to make it hurt the next game, which, you could end up beating him again potentially. But it's a spot you don't really want to be in. So win as many games as you can and do the best you can there. You have a better matchup with Charleston in second place than you do with Pittsburgh at first, because Pittsburgh, the way I used to describe DCFC, it's like kind of Anaconda style, where they like to choke the life out of you and then go and score. That's Pittsburgh style as well. And as shown earlier in the year, they do it a little bit better than Detroit at this current stage.
Well, if you've got feedback, 313-789-3211 or dailydetroit@gmail.com on anything that we have talked about. Fletcher Sharp, thanks for spending your Monday with us. And of course, Randy Walker, who's headed off. I appreciate him as well.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. It's always good to talk about, sports, and then even adding in a little bit of local news stuff, because I want to show people I'm not just some lunk.
And of course, Detroit City FC will be home on Wednesday. With that, I am Jer Stays. Thank you so much for listening to your Daily Detroit. Remember that you are somebody. We'll see you around town.